This is the Business Chat Podcast.
Welcome to the Business Chat. Welcome to a new season where I have found innovations. So in this innovation season, my producer and I have been scouring the internet, checking LinkedIn, looking for some true innovations. In this case, Jason Adams, founder and CEO of MEGASLAB. I don't know if that's true. I think you should have been maybe in the new invention series, Jason. What do you say?
Yeah, wherever you think I should go, man.
Well, it's no secret. Jason and I ran into each other a few years ago. We worked together. We've talked over his product, done some marketing work. Here for this podcast, we're going to focus on kind of the story and, again, the innovation in MEGASLAB. But that really is the last time I remember kind of understanding where you were going. Was this really wasn't an innovation. It was really a new invention, a new take on a really old concept. So welcome to the show, Jason. How you doing today, man?
Thank you. I'm fantastic.
Excellent.
So I think it's maybe time to cheers. I don't know.
Yeah, let's absolutely do the cheers. Virtual cheers.
Yeah, I got your mug here with Creature Comforts out of Athens, Georgia. So cheers to you. Sure.
Cheers. Right back at you. And I'm drinking M43 from Old Nation Brewery here in the great state of Michigan. So cheers right back at you.
Cool.
He knows the format, guys. See, that's what we do is we vet folks based on being ready with their drink or not. Well, glad the glassware found its way to you. It's a fun thing we like to do, just a little shtick in the opening. So that's something that we continue to plan to do. And we had actually a couple folks ask, what's the deal with that? Is it a paid sponsorship? And we said, no, it's just kind of fun to have guests bring in. Somebody said, that doesn't make any sense. And we said, yeah, we know. It's okay. It's fun sometimes just to do something. We're not getting paid. So maybe we should be rethinking that. I'm not sure. Well, listen, this is your time. You know, the audience today, Jason, is hearing a lot from this show. We really aren't focusing on an industry per se, but really are looking in 2022, in this year, looking at these innovations that are out there. We're talking to folks from all kinds of industries. I have a fascination with construction. And when we met, I was introduced to you. Our mutual friend said, you got to meet this guy. And he said this, this guy's the Steve Jobs of concrete. And I'm going, well, if that isn't a title for the decade, I wonder if he wants to be called, and I gotta say you've kind of lived up to that, because the things that you've said, the claims on your website, even some of the water cooler talk about your product and just those products is, guys go, yeah, Jason just doesn't do it the way we do it. He just doesn't really have any regard for the fact that this product is revolutionary. And you're a professional, you're a respectful guy that understands that there's a lot of myth and legend out there about concrete technology, but nonetheless, you claim this is the best. So let's get into it. Tell us just on the top level for those going, what is this about? What is MEGASLAB?
Yeah. Well, before I get into that, I don't know if I want to be called the Steve Jobs of concrete. Like some other folks that I could be referenced to, but yeah, that's really flattering, I guess.
Sure.
But yeah, concrete's been around for a long time, and in different forms, different fashions, different chemistry. But the great thing about chemistry is that it doesn't change.
Mm.
And, I like to say that Romans would be envious of MEGASLAB and the technology that we have and the process that we have to create some of the strongest, most durable concrete we've ever seen before.
Mm-hmm.
So MEGASLAB is really a technology company.
Yeah.
We don't produce the concrete. We don't install it typically. We are a technology that is implemented into the supply chain.
Mm-hmm.
That basically takes ordinary concrete, converts it into MEGASLAB in about 5 minutes.
Interesting.
So it's a very scalable idea. It's been installed in 14 states across the U.S., and we continue to grow. This idea was really started to be of service and to provide something extraordinary.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't want to come to market with something that was inferior.
No doubt.
I feel like we need to be good stewards of the environment. We need to just be good at stewards of the things that we've been blessed with, and try to make them better. And that's how we kind of leave things as we move from Earth into the next life, if you will. So, I mean, that's kind of where the idea came from, or,
No, I love this. I mean, you're doing my job here, and I love that you launched right into the stewardship idea. And all kidding aside about your title, the word's getting around, right? And so since you and I had met, I'm coming across, hey, you heard people talking about different innovations, and they heard of MEGASLAB. Oh yeah, we've come across that. So it's funny, in the time you and I bumped into one another in 2017, early 2018, that I remember having a really nice conversation with you in Georgia, and you were going, hey man, people are not going to believe what this thing does. But in my industry, it's just kind of that's the way we've always done things, man. Like, don't rock the boat. And that's the case in a lot of industries. And it's been interesting to see you stay very professional, suited, booted, just continuing to pound your drum. And here we are talking, and it's all over the news. And I Google search what you're doing, and it's showing up. For folks watching, maybe some folks that even still are skeptical, and a lot of our listeners that are just genuinely just learners and just understand what's going on. Talk to us about what inspired you to start MEGASLAB. So you started kind of dropping a few of those concepts of being a good steward and those kind of things, but take us back to when the light bulb went off for Jason Adams and you went, I think I've got it.
Well, I think before I get into the light bulb moment, because there was a few of those, I would say that I hate the phrase, we've always done it this way.
Yeah.
That's the most dangerous phrase in our language. And I heard it throughout my entire career in construction.
Mm-hmm.
I've been in construction for a little over 22 years. I spent about a decade of that on the general contracting side, built some high-end condos and different things, and just really learned a lot from some incredible mentors.
Right.
And in the construction space and general contracting space. And then 2008, about that time is when I fell into concrete, no pun intended. It was the Great Recession in Atlanta.
Yeah.
It was a terrible time to be in construction. Unemployment rate was about 45% for construction folks in Atlanta. But, through very hard work and a great team around me, I helped grow a company 300% through the Great Recession. So 2008 to 2012, I was out running that company. And then 2012, I decided to start my own because the economy was coming back. Construction started to boom again, if you will. And I just said, hey, if I can help another company grow through that terrible time, I should be able to do this on my own. And that's when I started a concrete construction company, Sinclair Construction Group, back in 2012. So, coming from the GC side, you get a little bored just focusing on one trade, but it was a relief. You don't have to focus on all the trades anymore. You don't have to focus on schedules for all the trades and giving the owner the end product. Now you get to, kind of focus on one particular trade and being really good at it. So we did that. But in 2015, I helped build a sculpture called Stealth. So if you look up Stealth Sculpture Atlanta, you'll see a lot of pictures of it. I think we even have a video documenting the construction of it on YouTube, which is really neat. And, that kind of opened my eyes to concrete as a material. And what all can we do with this incredible material, the second most used substance on the planet,
right,
and the number one building material in the world.
Second most used substance on the planet. That's a fact, huh?
It is. Yep, wow. It is a fact. Water's number one.
Water than concrete, guys. You hear that?
Yeah.
Second most used. Just, the blue planet, water, and then concrete. That's amazing.
Yeah, no big deal.
Right.
No big deal. So, I think Stealth really got my wheels turning, and it didn't really stop turning. And then finally, I think in about 2018 is when I got a little inspired to think differently about how can a product, any type of product, take Sinclair into a deep blue ocean. I don't know if you've read the book, The Blue Ocean Strategy. It's a great book, and it talks about.
I know the book.
It talks about how in construction, a lot of contractors know exactly what I'm about to explain. is that we're kind of all in this red shark infested ocean. And it's you're only as good as your worst competitor. And with concrete being a commodity, it's a very tough business. It's a tough business to survive in.
Yeah.
So anyways, 2018, I had known a pretty brilliant man in the concrete space. His name is Sylvester Schmidt, and he's forgotten more about concrete than a lot of people know. And had breakfast with him and said, Sylvester, I want to create, a slab system or a technology company.
Mm-hmm.
Just don't really know what that looks like yet, but I want to do it. He goes, you can do it, Jason. And I asked him if he'd, be a part of that as kind of a chief technical officer.
Right.
And he agreed, which was great. So, yeah, man, that started the journey.
He was your Steve Wozniak if we kept that going, right? Or maybe more, yeah. Very cool. That's awesome. Yeah, so you start this team, you find this somewhat unknown expert, and from there, that really sounds like, light bulb or just kind of the inception, right? That's kind of the start. And around what year that was, Jason, you said again?
Early 2018.
Early 2018, yeah. And it must have been just shortly after when we had intersected. Very interesting. Cool. Well, I mean, and you said a few things there that's worth highlighting, and without dragging you back in your own story too much, I think the thing, about, again, construction in a lot of industries, I think folks resonate with is just that's the way things have always been done. If this one thing that could mark what we're going through as a culture, and not being the expert on these topics per se, but as I just interview and talk to people in all kind of industries, disruptions happening. We see it in the workplace. We see the trend of everybody kind of questioning, and putting out just more products. We see just corporate structure looking for new purpose, reinventing themselves. But I think the timeliness, what I'm getting out of this, is incredible, because you've got a need for, sustainability, and that buzzword being there more than ever. And you've got us looking at the planet and the resources in a different way. And that's nothing new. In fact, that's been going on for some time. And now it's getting to where everybody from all walks, from all industries are going, we've got to start not letting everything just pass under our nose, right? We can't just keep putting products out there. And as I thought about your product, I know there's a lot of these different technologies kind of for concrete. And you touched on a little bit of that. And that's kind of what I want to drop you back into. One of your statements is, how is then MEGASLAB different? And we've seen a lot of the things on your site. We're putting up a lot of those visuals for this interview now to show folks, and I'm going to link all that. I guess if you could pick just the top 3, top 5, just really hit us with this short time we have on how is MEGASLAB different in your space of concrete technology?
Well, it's different in a few different ways. I would guess most importantly is that we focused on strength and durability. That was our first and main focus.
Okay.
How do we create stronger and more durable concrete?
Mm-hmm.
And then through that process, we started to learn, well, wait a minute, this is more sustainable. Well, it's more sustainable because it's more durable. I've always said that durability is sustainability, right?
Interesting.
If it lasts longer and you can get more use out of it and get your money's worth out of it, more so than we have in the past, that's more sustainable, right? But there's a lot of talk in the CO2, reduction space, right? Sustainability, CO2. There's a lot of buzz around that.
Mm-hmm.
So then we went back to the second grade arithmetic of how are we changing the CO2 from concrete, converting it to MEGASLAB through our process. And we really started to dive into that, and we just were taken aback. We went, wow, we're actually providing stronger, more durable concrete at a CO2 reduction on the front end, meaning forget about the durability standpoint and its longevity. How is it reducing CO2 as soon as the concrete comes down the chute of the concrete truck, right? So we really started to dive into that, and what we found was pretty phenomenal. We have, and this has been independently peer-reviewed. This is again, second grade. I jokingly say second grade arithmetic. It's very simple math for us to show any owner how we reduce CO2 through our process. And we have been able to do that and at a number, up to 50% reduction in CO2. And I've had some people say, yeah.
Right. Let's back up for a second there. So, and I'd checked out some of this stuff and seen, if you will, your competition. And I always do that when we're interviewing guests, just kind of understand the space they're in. Bill Gates endorses a product, right? And they talk about, and several I've seen these where, and I could be saying this wrong, folks listening are going, this hippie's not even saying it right. But where essentially the emissions and or the ash, I guess it goes up in the air, they're injecting this stuff back in the concrete as a way, I guess, to deal with that, right? And trap it. Seen a lot where it's kind of a earth blend of different products. There's a lot of these that claim to be sustainable, but I haven't heard anybody claim that they can reduce as much. Did you say 50% reduction?
Yeah, we do it all the time.
Wow. I mean, that's significant. A little research I've done, so I'm just kind of taken back a little here. Okay. Up to 50%.
Yeah, yep. And I was too, because again, I'm just trying to be a good steward, and I'm sick of the phrase, we've always done it this way. So, just through that, I guess, thought process, we've reduced CO2 by 50%, sometimes 53%.
Right.
We've got one project we're looking at now in California that's going to be over 60% reduction in CO2.
And California would appreciate the CO2 reduction. They're listening.
Yeah.
And that. Yep.
Yeah. I mean, there's different ways to reduce CO2 of concrete. I mean, fly ash, which is the byproduct of coal burning, has been used in concrete for decades.
Sure.
A lot of people don't know that. You can reduce, CO2, which CO2 comes from cement. The production of the cement is where most of the CO2 comes from concrete.
And that's key, I think, to our listeners too, Jason. A lot of us that don't know that space, sorry to interrupt, but as you're talking about this, that's fundamental, right? Cement as the admixture, as the batter, if you will. Concrete's the finished pie out of the oven kind of thing in a crude oversimplification. Okay, so manufacturing of the cement is where the most of the pollutant is happening, you're saying?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And think of cement as the flour to the cake.
The flour to the cake. There you go. I like that much better. Yeah.
Yeah. So think of cement as the glue that holds rock and sand together.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Okay. And that gray powder, it's a hydraulic reaction when you add water to it, not to go down the chemistry rabbit hole. But, that powder, for about every pound of it that's manufactured, it emits about a pound of CO2. And that's a tremendous number. If cement were a country, if you just said, okay, cement, you're a country, how does it rank? It would be China, the U.S., India, and then cement. It would be the fourth largest country in the world of CO2 emissions. Just huge.
Wow.
So, when we're able to reduce that for pretty much every project we do by, up to 50% and sometimes over that, that's a really big deal.
Man.
There's still other attempts to reduce CO2. Some I agree with, some I don't. Again, we focused on durability and strength. We didn't want to ever take a product, I certainly did. I want to take a product to market that was inferior or would cause an owner more problem. I'm trying to solve a problem. And if the CO2 reduction is just a no by the way, then that's great. Then it's kind of a win-win-win for everybody.
Yeah, and I like that you don't shy away from the fact that the focus, the engineering decisions were made more about durability. I know in some of the video media you created, and as we've stayed in touch, and just I've been spying on some of the stuff you're doing. Y'all have spun Caterpillar's equipment on this stuff, right? And you've had this thing shot at with a Barrett 50 cal. Some pretty insane stuff, Jason, that I've heard of you doing, and that I've seen kind of the video evidence. But that stuff screams what you just said, right? That's durability. I don't see anybody getting out any measuring devices talking about anything to do with CO2 in that example, but in those same slabs, you've been able to reduce the slab down. Or talk to me a little bit about in that same instance where you go, hey, it's durable, but also we've reduced CO2. Is that just because you produce less of it? This is kind of, I think I've noticed people get lost on that part.
Yeah. So you asked a question earlier about what are the major parts that helps MEGASLAB do what it does. Okay. So let me kind of get to that.
Yeah.
We design every mix ourselves. We don't rely on a concrete ready mix producer to basically give us an off-the-shelf mix.
Gotcha.
So we take all the available aggregates that may be available for that job in that particular region, because aggregates and sands are specific to a region. They all vary to some degree, and we design a very, I guess you could say, an optimized mix design. So we're looking for low water to cement ratio. We're looking at good aggregate packing and density, and then in doing that, we're able to reduce the cement content. So, we can get greater strengths with less cement, which is that's counterintuitive.
Yeah.
To a lot of things that happen. Then through our process of adding a nanotechnology, a fiber, and a process that we have patented, we're able to further increase mechanical properties of our concrete. So it's got higher strength, higher durability, higher abrasion resistance. So then we looked at it and said, okay, so how do we optimize engineering? Because we engineer the product. Again, MEGASLAB is a technology company, so we have engineering, we have processes, we have products. Okay, it's kind of all into one. So then we said, okay, so how do we optimize based on all these cool things and great mechanical properties of our concrete? So then we started to optimize engineering. So we started to thin the pavement section or the slab section. And I'll give you an example of that.
Okay.
We have a large client that had a 12-inch concrete pavement specified or designed for their project.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was going to be joints every 10 feet, and inside that joint was going to be a steel dowel basket. So you kind of see these used in highway pavements. You see these dowels that are put into every joint. So we asked specific questions about what is the traffic, what is the subgrade value. We asked some questions to kind of understand how they were going to use that roadway pavement. And this is miles of roadway. And we were able to categorize certain equipment for certain areas. So we took their 12-inch specified concrete pavement section down to 6-inch MEGASLAB in some areas, which is incredible.
Wow.
So we cut the thickness in half. Other areas we went from 12 to maybe 10. But we were able to reduce some of that reinforcement, if not all of it. So, you start to look at these things and you go, wow. So not only are we optimizing the mix, using less cement, using a more sustainable and lower CO2 mix design just right out of the gate, then with our higher mechanical properties, we have optimized engineering. So now we're able to use less of that material. So it's hit from a couple different facets. It's not just one thing that gets squirted into the concrete to reduce CO2 by 5%. It's a holistic approach of all these things coming together for that 50% and greater CO2 reduction.
That's incredible. And I don't want to misquote you, but, again, in some of the information I pulled up or the brand, but I've seen, and you might want to correct the statement, Jason, that y'all boasted being able to eliminate, at least in some situations, rebar. A little bit different topic, but is that accurate?
It is accurate.
Wow. And again, as a guy that's not the expert in this field and just barely even kind of a student of it, you could say, I realize that as you're able to eliminate, reduce the slab, so you're building a thinner, you're engineering, a less thick slab, you're putting out less concrete, less cement, less of the product. There's less bodies, there's tighter engineering, there's less trucks having to come to pump this stuff. You guys are reducing the rebar in some situations. I'm just surprised this isn't the talk of the town, more than it is, and I can see that it's picking up speed. But this is some pretty incredible. These are some pretty incredible stats. And I did take a look at this before we hopped on this call, and could see a couple of these videos that have been posted recently that show where you guys have engineered, the spec down and been able to really, really produce something incredible for your client. And like you said, it's really the outcome that's the CO2 reduction. It's really a focus on sustainability. That's incredible. That's really cool.
Yeah, thanks a lot.
Yeah. Well, I mean, in the time we've got left, this is your time. I just want to make sure we're kind of, again, giving you that ability to cover all grounds. This is a scientific topic is the truth. You mentioned earlier you don't want to go down that rabbit hole. That's the nature of this product. It is a rabbit hole, and like you said, people don't want to do things differently. I know that's just that's the human condition. We get comfortable, we get lazy, we build our livelihood around those things. But what we want to leave this interview, this time with you with, is just to stress again that what I've seen in this time with Jason, and Jason, what you're telling us here today too, is this isn't something that overthrows concrete construction industry. In fact, it sounds like this is something that, as folks are getting on board, that's what I'm seeing across the web, that again, the spec at the top of saying, hey, with sustainability as the focus, durability, sustainability as an outcome, that ought to be something that people are jumping at the chance for, right? It seemed like that would strengthen the subcontractor that's installing this concrete. That would strengthen their business model.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think we're doing some great things for the concrete industry.
Right.
Concrete's been given a bad name on many fronts. Joints, durability, clear, failures, subgrade issues. I don't even want to get into subgrade right now. That's a whole other discussion that we get into a lot. We design subgrades and actually help provide solutions there as well. But
wow.
We are helping solve a problem. We're bringing that material back and giving it something that it hasn't had before, and helping the industry as a whole. That's kind of how I see things. We replace asphalt in some instances, with exterior pavement.
Mm-hmm.
There's less heat island effect, which is not even part of our CO2 reduction number. It just is concrete being brighter and lighter in color. It has less heat that's emitted at night that actually warms the air. Asphalt does that because it's darker in color.
Mm-hmm.
It's called heat island effect. So, there's a lot of different things that we're addressing and trying to help, solve a problem in the industry. But bottom line is we want it to last a lot longer. We want it to stand the test of time. And that's why we took it to some of the most severe climates we could find, which is the heavy equipment, earth moving, steel track,
And not just heavy equipment, but I'm looking at this one in Albuquerque, New Mexico. And again, I'm no expert here, but I'm going, I've been to Albuquerque. That's not exactly, you're not hanging out in Hawaii. That's not exactly a gentle climate. I mean, you got freezing temperatures, heat, wind, incredibly dry sometimes. I mean, I was going to ask you that just as kind of a, just chatting point. As a concrete expert, here's my other question for you, because I've seen kind of where you're talking about, man, this is a harsh environment. Where would there on the earth be a situation where concrete is loving its environment, or pretty much is every part of this country and most of the world going to pretty much put it through the test? I'm just curious, in Jason's opinion, if you're like, where the ideal slab is, man, it's it's right here, in this spot.
I mean, I'd probably say that the Sahara Desert may be worse than Albuquerque by not a whole lot.
Those of you in New Mexico, great state. We love Albuquerque, and Jason's client out there may or may not be watching or laughing, but no, and they're appreciative. I mean, that what you're able to produce for that client is worth noting. That's some tremendous scale. And again, that just seemed like Hollywood trickery when we were watching that Caterpillar spin on that one job, and then we were watching what you guys were able to do in Albuquerque. Tremendous, man. This is really cool.
Yeah, thank you. I would say that definitely proves the concept.
Yeah.
Taking MEGASLAB to Albuquerque and not just the worst use case, like the worst environment under steel track bulldozers every single day, and holding up head and shoulders above anything that my client's ever seen before.
Right.
As far as concrete durability, but putting it down in that environment, I have this well documented, because I have to show this sometimes to people that don't believe me.
Yeah.
I have a lot of people that don't believe that we were replacing MEGASLAB in 5% relative humidity with 30-mile-an-hour winds. And that may have not been the smartest thing to do, but we did it, and we did it successfully. And we did extensive lab testing before we went to the job. So that's something that a lot of people probably don't know about MEGASLAB. Again, we're a technology company.
Yeah. We're
constantly trying to break it in the lab or in the field. We're constantly trying to push it.
Right.
And we set up these very high hot heat lamps and these box fans, to go into, the laboratory.
Mm-hmm.
And we basically put a scale underneath a pan of our concrete, and it was accurate within 1 gram. And we downloaded this. And basically what we were trying to do was we were trying to force it to evaporate moisture as rapidly as we could by putting it in basically the Sahara Desert. And we were trying to bake it as fast as we could and blow air over it. And it was remarkable how different it was than an ordinary concrete mix. It was substantial. So then we knew, okay, well, we've got something here, and I shouldn't be afraid to take it out into the desert and put it down. And I'm telling you, Drew, I had people. I was calling and talking to people through the process. I was a little nervous.
Sure.
Proving it.
No, that's on us to admit. I can only imagine the nerves. Yeah.
Yeah, I was nervous, but I'm of the mind that you have to fail fast. You have to fail forward, right?
Yeah.
And we're not going to progress if we don't find a new way of doing things and prove it. So we did that. I had a lot of naysayers, a lot of people saying you can't do what you're doing, Jason, but we got it done.
And you got to step back and realize a lot of folks behind that loaded statement, hey man, this is the way we've always done it. What are you doing, Jason? Taking the time to with the lab and all this kind of thing, because it's the second most used substance to water. I'm thinking that's dollars and cents. I mean, that's big. You're looking at something that if you can squeeze pennies out of it, save cost, it's a cost issue. What I hear you saying, and I didn't hear you say necessarily, because we're not going to get into that, what the cost will look like. This is a custom technology, and it's site specific and that kind of thing. But it sounds like what you're doing is bringing a level of finesse and technology, and again, a custom fitted, tailored kind of solution specific to that site and that use case that's going to bring them whatever they thought they would save in whatever product that I guess maybe these other concretes with respect to what's out there can be just laid down, maybe cheaper, right? Faster, not thinking about durability, just get it done. We got to get back to work, which we all understand. And now they're doing what? I've seen, these different things you posted where the repair, right? For those of you that don't follow this stuff, and I certainly didn't prior to meeting Jason, but I've worked in warehouses and I've seen forklifts take a dive, and I've seen the tripping, and I've seen, I've heard of these facilities with cracks and with concrete issues. And when you shut down a cold storage facility, I don't have to tell you, millions of dollars, Jason, a day, right? I don't know, an hour maybe. I mean, so the more we step back and look at, hey, maybe we need to be investing in this thing that is used, the second most used substance to water. And it's literally shaping the planet, like literally shaping the planet. We might want to start developing a different way of doing things. So I see that in what you're doing, my friend. This is very exciting stuff. And at the business chat, we're going to do everything we can to sing your praises and get the word out. Before we let you go, you're not allowed to go yet. I just want to read off some things for folks that want to visit megaslab.com. I'm just touching on some of this stuff, guys. Jason's really the one to get in touch with and his team. But this isn't just, what you're picturing. We're talking about caterpillars and harsh environments, but the implications of MEGASLAB flows through, heavy equipment, of course, food and beverage industry, distribution, warehouses, manufacturing, cold storage, waste management, the list goes on. Oh man, there's just really so many uses for this, again, this substance that is coating our planet. Jason, anything you want to leave anybody with that they can check you guys out? And we're all following you on socials and things, but maybe what's coming next, what to watch for, but we'll definitely post everything here in the episode and link you out.
Yeah, so I appreciate that, Drew. I would say we've got a lot of things coming. We've got a lot of projects they're breaking ground, and they're breaking ground soon that will be kind of telling the story about, just so people can understand that there's real use cases here. But yeah, I think overall we just have to be good stewards of the environment, but also the materials that we work with every day. And that's kind of the mindset of MEGASLAB, is how do we be really good stewards and leave something better than how it was, before we came in contact with it. And I just encourage the industry, the concrete industry as a whole, just to think, think outside the box. Let's not just, do things the way we've always done it. Let's think about how we can make things better, more durable, and provide a better product for civilization. And there's a lot of things happening right now, and I feel like we're at the tip of the spear of a renaissance period.
Sure.
When it comes to the second most used substance on the planet. So it's pretty exciting time.
We'll end on that note. Jason Adams, everybody, founder and CEO of MEGASLAB. You can visit megaslab.com to learn more about their product. Thanks to the unofficial sponsors, to our craft beverage providers for lubricating the conversation. And thanks everyone for tuning in. Again, look Jason up. Jason, thanks so much for your time, man. I really appreciate it. It's cool just to kind of geek out and understand kind of more what you're doing. Thanks again. Take care.
Thank you, Drew.
All right. See ya.